Bunt attempt third base side. Novak bare hands. Handled by Eichhoff. What a play.
Williams hits it hard, but not past the third baseman Novak, who makes the play.
Welcome to Tokyo Alumni Podcast. We are back after a 6-month hiatus. Today our guest is Justin Novak for episode 82. Justin is the bullpen catcher for the Seattle Mariners. Prior to that, he was working for the San Diego Padres as a coaching assistant. Justin loves baseball. He's a bit of a baseball legend at ASIJ, where he helped lead his team to a 27-win, 0-loss season his senior year, as well as win 2 Far East championships. Justin's also one of the few international school athletes who went on to play Division I, where he played Division I baseball for University of Virginia, where his team won the national championships his freshman year. It was a great opportunity to talk to Justin. Through this interview, I definitely really felt just how much he loves baseball. So without further ado, we are back, episode 82, Justin Novak. And it's really exciting to have you on. We talked prior to this podcast about, how to, there's a book called like Yakyū de doyatte meshi wo taberu ka, right? How can you make a living with baseball? And there's not many, right? There's a lot of us that watch baseball, play baseball, but you're actually making, a living out of it. So I do want to rewind the clock a bit, though, to high school first. And, you mentioned earlier you played Division I baseball, and not many Inta kids go to play at, the caliber you did. So what do you think you did differently from people around you that, from middle school, high school, that lets you advance to such a high level of baseball?
Well, I have an older brother, 9 years older than me. He went to Yokota, class of '05, and he was all about baseball. So growing up, I've kind of put all my eggs in that basket of like, I love sports. I want to compete. In elementary school, I started going to like Shonen Yakyū. So I would go every weekend. Hanshin Nannazu, that was the team name. And then Akishima Boys would be the second team that I was with. But that was every weekend, like 9 to 6. I think people that play in the Japanese system would know the drill. And then got into middle school. I moved to ASIJ from Yokota, and then kind of stuck with it. I still just love baseball and just like play it every day. I should have focused probably more in school, but I was just more like baseball, baseball, baseball. So, I mean, I had a net set up in our backyard just to play. I would play like imaginary baseball games by myself. It's kind of weird, but I just loved it so much. But in high school, I also was like on a club team it's called Nishitama Kurabu. So I would go during whenever I could to go out there to play. But it was like a year round. I had a best friend, Mizuki Shumsky. He went to play D1 at Miami of Ohio. So having him in high school also, we like pushed each other and did all that. But I don't know, I got really lucky.
Earlier, you're making your living related to baseball now. What was that always the plan? Like, I'm always curious with athletes. Did you know, like at middle school, high school, I want to go Division I, or were you already saying at that point, I want to go to major league? Like, what was sort of a realistic goal you had? Let's say in high school, like, early on in high school, what was your thought about your future?
It's always a dream to play in the big leagues. I've always wanted to play, be like stand in the batter's box and just kind of play. But that didn't work out. And then, yeah, just wanted to stay in the game. I don't know. I got really lucky. I don't know what else I could tell you. I just wanted to ball with the homies, and now we're kind of here, and I love what I do right now. So it's worked out.
So that part about, you're very modest about, how you got to where you are, but like, what are the steps? So we have, you're
Okay.
sort of your regular Inta kid, and then
Yeah.
you have your Division I career, right, of
Okay.
UV. How does one get from there to then where you are now as, I
Okay.
think your official title is bullpen
Yeah.
catcher, is that
Okay.
correct?
So I'll take you through that. So it was my freshman year of high school. My dad had a business trip out to DC, And within that business trip, he was like, yo, there's a camp at the University of Virginia and there's a camp at George Mason. Do you want to go? And I'm like, yeah, like let's do it. Cause I wanted to play ball in the States, like at D1. That was kind of a goal of mine from US. From like maybe middle school. I was watching like the College World Series. And my brother was like, yo, you could play there if you really tried. And that kind of like lit a fire in my ass and just like motivated me. But yeah, so I went to that camp. I didn't think I was gonna go to Virginia because they were like fucking good at the time and like just played. The coaches liked me and they're like, hey, come back next year. And then sophomore year, I went back and then guess they liked me. And then they offered me like a little bit to go. And I was like, fuck yeah, it's Virginia. So I'm a go. And then they played me a lot, which was awesome. I had a great 4 years there. Again, I got lucky. My brother was working in the sports industry at the time too for this sports agency called Scott Boris. And then he had a client that was Japanese, went to play in the States and he needed an interpreter. And through the agency, I met him. I interviewed with the Mariners. I got my translating job. That was my first job out of college. I actually did an internship with MLB Japan as well, before that in the fall/winter. But that's how I got my foot in the door and then did that for a year. You learn a ton because you're pretty much the player and everyone that's talking to them. So I was
Mm,
just like the middleman. So there's so much knowledge going back and forth. So I learned a ton doing that. And then I was like, I want to do this like baseball stuff more. Like I liked interpreting. It was cool. Kind of parted ways after a year and then got into player development, which is like coaching, I
mm,
guess. So I was supposed to go coach in one of the minor league affiliates in 2020, but COVID happened.
mm,
So I ended up just kind of helping out one of their facilities. And then 21, I was signed like a player coach contract, but it was just to like coach and learn for the AAA in Tacoma, which I'm still with the Mariners. So I
mm,
did that for a year and then I became good homies with the pitching coach while I was there. And he got plucked by the Padres in a more like higher up position in pitching, which is oversees all minor league pitching.
mm,
And then he kind of recommended me to the Padres for this opening for the big leagues, called the Major League Coaching Assistant. So I did like data, just help out wherever you can, just kind of utility role. So got plucked for that, did that for a year. I like the Mariners better, and I heard the bullpen catching job was open. Not
mm.
that I hated the Padres. Padres were awesome. That was sick. And then made some calls and luckily was able to come back to the Mariners and I'm just catching bullpens and helping out. So it's great. That was my
Could you,
whole
yeah.
path there.
No, it's really cool. Yeah, if you just like, you got foot in the door, he's the adventures in San Diego. And could you
Yeah.
maybe explain like very succinctly what exactly a bullpen catcher does, maybe for someone who's not super familiar with baseball?
Yeah. I would say it's more like a extension of a coach. Like I'm part of the staff, but I'm not like one of the big dogs. So, um, just help the pitchers. Whatever the pitching coach is trying to push, you just keep trying to push that. It helps when everyone's pulling the rope in the same direction. So just being that other voice and like encouragement to do what they're supposed to be doing. Kind of like keep the vibes up. You have 162 games. Just
Mm,
kind of remind the guys like, yo, this is baseball, dude. Like
yeah.
we're not curing cancer. We're not going to space. Like have some fun with it. Even though there's a bunch of pressure, obviously, like professional sports. I look at data stuff, but I'm not really too involved in it now. I did a lot of that with the Padres. I did like the infield shifts. I was in charge of that. Just kind of making sure guys are in the right spot. Like pitching data stuff. I would look into that with my Padres job. But for now, it's just help practice, keep the vibes up,
Yeah.
um, push whatever the coaches are pushing, and just kind of just be there with the homies.
Do you feel like, with all this data analysis and, how, a lot of people are familiar probably with Moneyball, right? In the Oakland A's.
Yeah.
was about 20 years ago. Do you feel like that analytics side is something that has increased in regards to the job of people like in your position or managers and
For
coaches?
sure. Yeah, data is like it's huge right now. There's analyst positions. There's a bunch of positions within baseball that deal with looking for guys, looking at guys, evaluating guys. Yeah, I think there was a huge boom in it with Moneyball and all that, and then some teams kind of went super overboard and like super data, and
Mm.
then the good teams are able to kind of take the data and like use it instead of just relying everything on it. That's just my opinion, but yeah, it's a cool way to look at the game. They're numbers, they don't lie. But at the end of the day, like they're humans out there. So it's always hard to predict tendencies, but within 162 games, definitely good to look at some data.
And like you come from this background, like baseball family, like I knew, about your brother because of all the articles and Stars and Stripes. You played Division 1, clearly athlete, right? What if someone is really passionate about baseball, but they're not as skilled as you were, right?
Yeah.
They're maybe kind of more the analytics side. As someone kind of on the inside, what do your colleagues look like? Because clearly you come from a very baseball background, right? But do you have colleagues who are like, oh, I played a little bit of middle school, but like I'm just
Hmm.
really passionate about
Yeah.
baseball. Is
Yeah.
that like a commonality, or are most
Yeah.
people like you and they have, a serious baseball background?
No, yeah, there's a ton of guys like that. Like they're super smart and they love baseball. Again, there's like analyst positions. There's we have a department called like projects. So they make these apps, like developers pretty much. They make apps for guys to look at their phones with their stats and stuff like that. Yeah, there's like the business side of baseball, which I don't really know much about, but I'm sure there's like ticket sales, fan interaction, media, there's like all that jazz, which is awesome. And then there's a front office side, which is more like making decisions about the team, data analytics. There's also scouting, advanced scouting. They scout the other team to make sure that we know what we're doing and how do we game plan for the other team. That and also, there's analysts for our players to make sure that we're doing the right thing. And yeah, you don't really have to play, honestly. Like there's just a bunch of guys that are super smart especially with the Mariners. Like they're hella smart out here. I'm like, what am I doing? Yeah.
I mean, and I don't mean to kind of be redundant, but I think a point that I do want to focus back on though is, like when it comes to, let's say, basketball, you got guys like Rui Hachimura who are, clearly just born, a certain height, right? But in your case,
Yeah.
you're not, you weren't the biggest player in high school, right? If I sorry,
Oh,
5'9", right, 160.
yeah. Yeah.
So what did you do though? Like what, you've been very kind of modest so far about, oh, I play a little bit of baseball, like outside, but like
I
what?
mean, I worked my ass off. Like
Yeah.
I'm not gonna play that down. Like I would make sure I would outwork everybody. That was my mentality always. It was kind of
Mhm.
like cliche, but I always had that chip on my shoulder of like, I'm not that big. I got to do the little things right. I got to hustle my ass off. I got to go grind,
Mhm.
rise and grind, all that stuff. I was super into that stuff. So I think that helped for
Mhm.
sure. It's just like you're just building your house pretty much, just brick by brick every day, even if you don't think it's gonna do anything for you. Like it's just building it, building it, building it, and then all of a sudden you look up and you're like, damn, dude, like I did that. Like it's pretty sick. So I don't know. I just like
Yeah.
free periods, I would go and
Mm.
throw against the wall, like just to like I got it in today. Like I had to do something baseball. I still do. It's like a habit I still have, which kind of want to kick, but like kind of don't. Just like do something baseball related or do something productive, I guess. Like go outside or it helps. I learned a ton within the sport as well. So
So as cliche as it is, just hard work was you would consider sort of the main
yeah,
ingredient.
just yeah, one one little, even if it's a half a brick, dude, like just lay it on there, just put something on there. But that was the mentality.
And like in a similar vein, I don't mean to be redundant, but just to review, if let's say there's, a high school or a college student from ASIJ, even like a young grad, they love baseball, right? They want to get involved. Obviously, your path, you said, was being an interpreter, right? With the Mariners. Like what routes are there? I know MLB Japan, you mentioned earlier. I do know they've
Yeah.
hired ASIJ grads in the past.
Yeah,
Do you think that would be sort of the closest path for someone who is really passionate about baseball and wants to get into the business?
for sure. Yeah. Just whatever you could do to like get your foot in the door, would be, because once you're in there, that's when you make it's so like close knit. You just make the connections, and you're just keep in touch with them and just be homies. And then, but yeah, MLB Japan's probably the best route, I would say. That, or I mean, there's a kid named Leonard Yang. He was 2 years younger than me. He started working for the Rangers, um, as an analyst. I play with him. He's pretty good. Him. There's a kid named Luke Shinoda. He went to St. Mary's. He also interpreted. Well, he interpreted for WBC actually. So he
Wow.
has some really cool stories. But he was Akiyama. Shogo Akiyama's a outfielder. He played for the Reds. He was his interpreter, but he also did MLB Japan, as well. But yeah, there's also this thing called winter meetings every winter. I haven't been, but it's where all the baseball people get together. It's usually like in San Diego or Nashville, sometime in, I think, January. It's when all like the front offices get together, and that's like a really good networking opportunity. Like you're just sitting there, just waiting for someone to pass, and then you shake their hand, be like, "Hey, I'm so and so. I'm interested in this." Elevator pitch, pretty much. So there's that as well. Yeah.
That's really unique that I didn't realize it's such a small community. You could actually point out, right? That guy went to St. Mary's, that guy went to
Yeah.
ASIJ.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want to call it superfluous, but like, like kind of the extra stuff.
Mhm.
Like, and that would be kind of fun to like look back at your time at ASIJ. I
Yeah.
have some statistics here.
Yeah.
Yeah, as a
Hold it up.
four-time Kanto Plains All-Star, led team to two Far East Tournament
Yeah.
championships. Team finished 27-0, coached by John Sievers. So I wasn't coaching
Beavers.
him,
That's my
but
guy. I love that
we
guy.
yeah, he was my PE teacher. And
So
also, yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
I had a van I lived out of for a year when I was in Tacoma.
Yeah.
So I did a road trip from Seattle to Virginia, and I stopped by Nebraska, in Seaver's house. I stayed at his house for a night. It was awesome.
That is awesome that those connections persisted. And I'm sure he was happy to
Great.
have you on the team.
No, I was super happy to have him as a coach. Like, coaches and teachers made such an impact in my life. Like, I just so much respect. So it's always cool. I don't know, man. I was kind of just like a whatever, dude. Like, let's go play, let's have fun. Um, that mentality was always kind of helped me of like, we're better than these guys, or we practiced our asses off. Like, we could face anybody. We played a Japanese team my senior year.
Mhm.
Um, and beating them was kind of cool just because I know how much they practice, and um so that was a good memory. Junior year basketball, actually, I didn't play much that year, but we had a sick team. We had like really good players. I learned a lot from them, actually. Ken Yajima, Liam Fukushima, Henry Walrap, Alan Malamud. But yeah, I learned a bunch from them and how competitive they were. Again, like, teachers and coaches always have paved a lot of knowledge and everything in my life. They've made such an impact in my life. I think that's why I want to kind of get back into this, is just to give back and pass down knowledge, whatever I gain. Might not be much, but whatever I could do to help the next generation, or just that's always something I've always kind of wanted to do. But specific memories other than like Baka ones, I don't really I don't really have much. I just
That's okay. Yeah.
just
Uh,
go play, man. Like just go ball with the bros.
the so you have this unique bicultural, bilingual background. In what ways do you think that sort of coupled with your ASIJ international school experience is helping your career today?
I think it yeah, helps me a lot. Just like being bicultural, bilingual bilingual obviously, because that's how I got my first job. But it's kind of understanding people, I guess. Not like better, not understanding people better than others, but it's just kind of there's 9 countries that are represented in my graduating class at ASIJ. So knowing that there's people that come from different places and that do different things and not saying something's right or something's wrong, it's just like that's just who they are. That's just how they were raised or all that. I think that really helped kind of perspective is a easy way to sum it up. Just having that perspective was really good for me.
Yeah, and it's interesting in baseball, it's become so international. Do you feel
Yeah,
like that has allowed you to kind of better, I guess, adjust with the players there and with the coaches?
for sure. Yeah, it's getting international. Like some guys show emotions differently than others, or some guys, are just they just process ways different, or they just are different, and just like kind of like I don't consider myself like normal. Like what is normal, Like I'm not normal either. Kind of out there, super giddy all the time, kind of weird, but it's just like understanding we're all we're all just trying to do the same thing. It's just throw this ball really hard or hit it really hard and contribute so we could win and celebrate at the end of the year. So yeah, just kind of keep things simple. Don't lose sight of what you're doing. Like I wear pajamas every day to work and like at work, I like the uniform obviously is a uniform, but it feels like I'm wearing pajamas and just
Mm.
chucking a ball for my living. So just can't forget that. I'm just catching it and chucking it back.
As we kind of get towards the end here of the interview, I like to finish by asking the guests, like, where do they see themselves 5 years, 10 years, 30 years from now? Like, what is in store for the future for you?
That's always a loaded question for me. Because I do think about it, but I have no idea. I'm really enjoy what I'm doing right now, so I'm gonna ride this wave, and I don't know, like I've always wanted to just kind of give back. So coaching somewhere or helping somewhere, whether it's high school, college, if it's still in pro ball, just kind of ride this wave. Like all my eggs are in this baseball basket, so kind of scared to see what else is out there, to be honest with you, because
Mm.
this is all I've known. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Just kind of rolling with it.
I think it's awesome, man, that you have such a strong passion for one thing, though, because I do feel like, especially teaching high schoolers, it's something that some people never find it, right? They kind of just major because they're told to major in something, and then they
Well,
work
that's
for
cool
some
too, though, like
reason.
that's yeah. But I feel that that's
So
just like
respect,
I
man,
just
that
like fucking love baseball, dude. It's like
yeah.
it's kind of crazy, man. It's like, yeah, like baseball. So
Thank you for being one of the first guests back on in a while. I think episode 82, right? So I hope I wasn't a bit what's the word? Like a bit
you're great. You're great, dude. I hope
and
I gave you enough content.
oh no, it's good stuff, man. I really appreciate you coming on. Baseball, man. It's definitely I'll be following your team. Especially
Well, yeah,
knowing now
thanks,
that
man.
you go to you're with the team, right? As we spoke
Yeah,
off
I'm there.
air.
I'm in the bullpen every day. So if it pans over there, yeah.